Kyle Vanderviver writes, "Hey John, is the rumor surrounding Christian Bale true? An offer sum of $50 million? If so, what are your thoughts? And just for old time's sake, I was with you all the way on not getting Bale back, but I just could not help from getting excited when I read these headlines."
Okay. So I had to resist the urge a lot to address this while I was up in Canada. So as many of you know, this report started running around all the movie, and forgive me while I put on my ranter's hat for a second. This report started going around all the news sites, almost all of them. A couple of really sharp ones did not run with this, but the vast majority of the sites ran with this headline that Christian Bale offered $50 million by Warner Brothers to reprise his role as Batman for the upcoming Batman and Superman movie. When you read into it, there were a couple things that stood out. Number one, this report, and I use that term very lightly, comes from a $2.99 ebook you can buy off of Amazon by some no-name dude who, according to the reports, now remember, I'm saying according to reports, follow me here. Some no-name dude in no official capacity said that an unnamed source from Legendary Pictures told him that Warner Brothers had offered... Now, do you already see this house of cards falling apart? Some unauthorized, no-named, non-represented dude says that some unnamed source from one studio told him that another studio offered Christian Bale $50 million to run with blah, blah, blah. If you're a news site and you run with this story, you're garbage. You're garbage. Now, I have, like I've said this before and I'll say it again, I have no problems with speculating and say, okay, hey, let's play the speculation game. But so many of these sites ran with this story as fact without ever looking into it, without ever giving the caveat said, hey, this is from a completely 100% unreliable source and is not confirmed by anybody. No, they wanted to get the hits and they ran with the headlines. Christian Bale offered $50 million for next Batman film when it simply was not true. Now, I myself have better things to do with my life than read a $2.99 ebook on Amazon written by a no-name dude who has no position of any authority anywhere about Christian Bale. So I haven't read the book myself. But I'm now being told by a bunch of people, when you read the book, he doesn't actually say Warner Brothers offered him. He's saying if Warner Brothers offered him, Bale should take the money. Which just makes this whole reporting thing fall apart. And this kind of breaks my heart, and here's why. And I know I'm going a little bit broader in the topic here, but indulge me for a second. I've been sitting on this for days. So way back in the day, there was this monumental, in my mind anyway, this great time at Comic-Con 7 years ago, I think it was, where me, Vic Holterman from Screen Rant, Peter Soretta from Slash Film, and a couple other guys, blogging was just starting to become big in the movie world. And we were sitting around at Comic-Con and chatting, and one of the topics was the fact that the traditional trades, the traditional media, was feeling very threatened and talking a lot of trash about blogging. And one of the things that these traditional media outlets that were dying was complaining about was that if these blogs get big, they're just going to run with any unsubstantiated rumor. They're going to make things up left, right, and center. There's no journalistic integrity with blogs. There's no standards for them to meet, blah, blah, blah. And guys like me and Vic and Peter and certain round were sitting around saying, we're going to prove them wrong. We're going to prove them wrong. And as a fan, as a massive fan of the online film community, it breaks my heart a lot to see that these traditional media outlets back 7 years ago were absolutely 100% right. That these days, we, as the movie blogging community, have become just as responsible for misinforming our readers as we are for informing them in the desperate attempt to break a story and to get hits. Now, way back in the movie blog days, I just gave up on trying to break stories. I don't care about breaking stories. I want to talk about the news. I don't break the news, so I don't worry about breaking stories. So I can't relate and I don't understand the type of pressure that those sites who are responsible to us for breaking those stories. That must be a different level of pressure, and I understand that. But, the fact that so many sites, first of all, ran these headlines and then other sites just reposted them, never bothering to follow up to see, could there actually be any validity to this? Instead of just stating, hey, Bale's been offered $50 million. No, he wasn't. He wasn't. But all the sites are running with him. And my friends, my movie viewing friends, I'm talking to you now heart to heart. As film fans, we also have a responsibility as viewers, as movie fans, to check these things out. If I come on AMC Movie Talk sometime, and this has happened, if I come on AMC Movie Talk sometime and just say something is so, you should not just accept that it's so. Follow it up. Read into it, especially if I'm making some wild claim. Like if I come out tomorrow and say, hey guys, guess what? I just found out Val Kilmer is coming back as Batman. You can quote me on it. Then you as a fan, you should take some responsibility to say, okay, that sounds pretty out there. I'm going to look into this myself and see if there's any validity to this. And very quickly, you're going to find out that there's not. And I've had viewers correct me, and that's great. That's one of the best things about being a community is that, if I miss something and I say something in error, you guys are there to correct me, and that's great. And that's the responsibility that we as film fans need to take as well. But I'm telling you, this whole Bale offered $50 million thing has broken my heart on a lot of levels because it shows a complete lack of any integrity that the movie blogging community has taken. And I'm sure I've made this mistake myself. I have made this mistake too. So I'm holding myself just as guilty in this. But, and then we as fans need to follow these things up too. So it kills me. It kills me the level of ignorance that we report and that we accept. And I think both from a film blogging point of view and from a film fan point of view, we need to up our standards and say, number one, we're not going to accept anymore just this rampant, all this Star Wars baloney. I almost said something else. All this Star Wars crap that's been reported is nonsense. So much of this Batman stuff has been nonsense. Some of it coming from good sources. Some of it we should take as legit rumors that need to be looked into. But a lot of it has just been nonsense. And on both sides of the coin, we need to start taking more responsibility, saying, hey, look, let's not just believe anything we hear. And as film blogs, let's not just report anything without putting in massive disclaimers that, look, this is probably not true, but let's indulge it and discuss it. We got to take more responsibility. So I've hated this whole Bale thing, but don't believe it for a second. It's simply not true. Dennis, your view on this whole Christian Bale offered $50 bajillion for Batman's return.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's very upsetting. I mean, right before we did the show, I got messages on Facebook and Twitter about this new rumor that he's being offered $60 million. It's like $60 billion. It's like really from a different source. And it's like, okay, people just want to get people to visit their sites and hit their links. And it's like, well, I'll just report another one. He got offered $80 million. It's like, when does it end? And people, claim they have these sources, but yeah, it's just like anyone can say that. I could say, hey, John, did you hear? I heard from reliable sources that Pauly Shore is actually going to be the next Batman. So, that's concrete evidence. And then people take that and then they accept it for what it is, and it's like, man, yeah, I'm with you. I think both the bloggers need to take responsibility and the fans as well. I mean, they should boycott and stop going to sites that fabricate rumors, like they just start things saying, okay, this is this and this and that. And it just, I don't know, all that misinformation just doesn't do any help to anyone.
Yeah. You know what? And I think the unfortunate thing too, is I believe there have been some situations where a site is trying to do right and they get fed bad information. Maybe, and sometimes maybe from reliable sources that have been reliable for them in the past, and they get fed certain information, and they run with it, really believing they're running with the truth, and then it turns out they made a mistake. That happens. That happens to all of us. All of us that happens to. And I totally understand that, but, we as fans, and before other news sites just start reposting other people's stories, dudes, think about it for a second. I mean, and we're not sitting here. I always want to give this disclaimer too about the Bale thing, and I'm getting sick and tired of the Bale thing. But this disclaimer is worth giving: is that look, there's nothing to say in the world of possibility Remember, we're talking about possibilities, not probabilities, just possibilities. That maybe next week Warner Brothers does set up a meeting with Christian Bale and wants to sit down and talk about him returning. It's not going to happen, but it's not impossible. That could. So when we're saying, look, don't listen to this no-name dude who put out a $2.99 Amazon ebook who has no connections to anybody. And when I say that, I'm not saying it's absolutely impossible for Christian Bale to ever sit down with whatever, but it is highly unlikely, and just that particular rumor that's going right now simply isn't true. So I've ranted long enough about that. Sorry about that, guys.
Well, as soon as we're done with Mailbag, I'm going to go write an ebook to tell you guys that a reliable source told me that Zack Snyder was going to call and offer me $100 million to play Wonder Woman. So just throwing that out there.
It'll be reposted on at least 10 sites.
Yeah.